Middlekauff!
Hey, B!
Hey, oups! All right. If you are watching this on YouTube, then you did not just hear the music. Go to the description to get the podcast and understand what we were just playing music to.
We got jams.
We got jams. If you're listening to the podcast like usual, you know exactly what it is. It's the official theme song.
Hell yeah.
If you don't know what that is, go find it. Time for another pod, Middlekauff.
Yes, it is, guy. April 29th, Wednesday, mid-quarantine. Let's rock and roll, baby.
This is going to be a rapid-fire pod, which we found is working well for the YouTube channel and for the podcast. Before we dive into it, we've been shot for a couple weeks. We've been trying to we live in the Bay Area, for those of you that are new to us, and so supporting a couple local companies that have been friends for a while. Eating right. You got a Kinder's barbecue sandwich on the list for this week?
It's not a terrible idea. Maybe after we get done recording this podcast, my Grandpa Kinder started that bad boy in 1946.
George Mikan's rookie year.
Yes, San Pablo. Now they got 10 stores all over the place. You obviously can find their sauces, their rubs in stores like Safeway, Costco. You look around, but support the actual stores that are serving food. I have multiple actually by me in Walnut Creek. I get, if I'm being healthy, barbecue chicken sandwich. If I'm being bold, I go, that's the listener tipped me off to this, the ribeye sandwich with a little jog sauce. Get some Doritos or some potato salad. It's a bomb.
Sounds really good.
God, I'm hungry right now.
Also, you don't have to be in the Bay Area to get in on the Evergood sausage. I mean, wherever you get your Smart and Final, Safeway, I don't know. Costco, wherever you are, go find it.
Do Albertsons still exist?
I don't think so. Does Lucky still exist?
I don't know. So wherever you shop, find our friends at Evergood. It's usually in the section. I know the Safeway I go to that says local. I always like seeing that. I was like, luckily I already knew they were, and I get my pineapple sausage and I throw them in the cart, and I just, with my mask on, I keep on moving.
Very good. All right, Evergood Kinder.
Mask would be strong. It's a handkerchief.
If you are listening to this podcast, it's available on YouTube. If you are watching this podcast, you can get it on your phone or however you get podcasts normally. So go do the other thing. We're
everywhere.
The support. Yeah, ton of. By the way, can we just say this? The YouTube channel is going very well. If you haven't subscribed to it, please do it. A lot of videos up there in addition to the podcast. A lot of content.
Yeah.
As we like to
say. We have not treated this like a vacation. It's been an interruption. And we've just kept on grinding.
Has it? I mean,
well, I guess an interruption
for
society, not necessarily me and you.
Yeah.
I just mean like the world's changed, and we usually do 3 podcasts a week. Kind of been doing 2. I think we'll get into some sports are coming back. Like we're coming back, and society's we got golf is open now. So get out, sun's shining. It was hot yesterday. It was 90 degrees in I don't know what was in the city.
Gotta
go outside to see.
Yeah, it's gotta ask Siri. You could go golf with Peyton. You could golf with no golf with Tom. Although those 2 guys are going to golf together. When is that happening?
I think it's middle of May. It's Peyton and Tiger and Tom and Phil, or vice versa?
Yeah, or maybe they're split up. I'm not sure. The other one that's really good is the Rory one. Is going to be sweet.
Rory, Ricky, who else? Michael Jordan?
No, it's 4 golf. It's like Rory, Ricky, Matthew Wolff, and who's the 4th guy? Rory, Ricky.
Someone hit me up and asked me. It was kind of an interesting
Dustin
question.
Johnson. It's Rory and Dustin against Ricky and Matt Wolff.
Yeah, I like Rory and Dustin Johnson to kick the shit out of them. Fuck. That's it's like, I got Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, and you got C.J. Beathard, and we'll give you Daniel Jones. Like, hey Ricky, I know you make a lot of money from endorsements. He's got 1 career win, guy. Or excuse me, 4 career wins. I think no majors.
These things usually end up pretty close. I bet. It's
they do because Ricky Remember, was it like a month ago when quarantine was just starting and him and Justin Thomas were just playing for fun? Justin's like, yeah, he just beat me by 5. I shot 65.
Yeah.
I think Ricky pickup golf, would be like in his prime, like Steve Francis, probably like the greatest pickup player ever, or Stephon Marbury. He's born for just pickup golf. Honestly, he should just hit the circuit where you just bet rich people on the side and kick the shit out of them. Did you see that thing that went viral with Peyton was on Dan Patrick? And they were kind of talking about, when he plays with Tiger and if they're friends, he's like, yeah, we play together. And he's like, Tiger's he's a stickler. He's like, what's your handicap? Peyton would be like, I'm like an 8. And Tiger's like, okay, I'll give you 4 shots aside. And Peyton's like, well, that would mean you're a 0 and you're not a 0. You're like a +6 or 7. So if anything, you should give me like 15 shots. Tiger's like, no. And they just argue. And Peyton's like, I'm not playing you for 7 shots. You're not a 0. But I do think
it seems pretty unfair. Like Tiger regularly beats other pros by more than 8 shots.
Well, he's not. He's a plus. Probably
that means Peyton would.
He won
finish,
the Masters last year.
Yeah, that means Peyton would have finished in the top 10 at the Masters.
Yeah, it's just not true. The one thing I think I think I read that it's not going to be pay-per-view. It's going to be free. The Tiger, maybe on TNT.
Oh, I assumed it was free.
See, I assumed at first it was pay-per-view, but I think people are going to realize how bad those two are at golf, just relative to, like, they're going to look really bad. Like, they're going to flub chips. They're going to snap balls into trees. They're just normal kind of golfers. Now, maybe they're a little better than normal if they're single-digit handicaps, but next to Phil and Tiger, it's going to look.
Are they alternating shots?
I would just assume they did, like, some sort of best ball between the two of them.
Because I think the best ball to me, part of the beauty would be seeing Brady go in the trees and Phil have to save him, or Peyton in the sand and Tiger's got to save him, right?
That would be, to me, you could probably do a 36-hole deal. You could do 1, 18, or maybe switch the 9s, or hell, 3 different 6-hole strategies, like 6-hole best balls, 6-hole match play, 6-hole alternate shot. Yeah,
because I would love to see Tiger sticks it to 3 feet and then Brady blows the putt by, right? Like, and all of a sudden
Tiger giving him a weird look, and Tom's like, my bad.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden Peyton and Brady are getting treated like the way they've always treated other teammates, where they got to carry them. Now they're the ones getting carried. That is a fun dynamic.
Well, Ravel tweeted a couple days ago that Peyton and Brady's 2 all-in challenge, and these all-in challenge are something famous people are doing to generate a bunch of money for Corona. Tom's went for like $800,000. You get his cleats, you get his jersey, his first ever Tampa game. He's going to, assuming we have fans, fly you there. You either go to dinner or get a TB12 workout with him. Peyton's a little less, $300K, but to me, his, like, Mahomes.
Well, his is $525. It was $300K less. Yeah.
Okay, so Mahomes did basically like the same type thing Brady did, and I think got a bunch of money. Fly you to a game on their terms, kind of. You get to do like VIP stuff, but it's never. You're not taking them home to like make tacos with them.
The time commitment is from the PR agent who has to escort them around.
Peyton's got a little bold guy. He is flying to you, and he's going to play golf at your home track with your friends, and then go to dinner. Which again, I think in theory kind of makes you're just in this mode trying to help out. You can generate a bunch of money. There is a chance we've all played golf at public tracks with random people where you're like, yeah, I just would rather be at home than playing with this guy. It could end very, very badly for him.
Well, if you're Peyton, you probably go, oh, the high bid was $525, but the bid that was $515 as a guy who plays at Olympic. I'll pay the other $10. I'll go to California and play at Olympic.
But to me, it's not. I would argue the course. If you are someone like Peyton Manning, and you get paired, whether the guy's at Augusta or whether he's at Hank Swanks, and you're with a guy that is just wearing you out, because there is a chance if you're willing to pay that type money, you might be a big Colts fan, might be a big Bronco. You're just going to wear his ass out. And now he can put on his political hat, right, and just be.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to him. I bet he's done this more than we realize.
Maybe you're right.
Meet and greets and golf with people that 4 hours sounds like hell.
There was a response to my tweet just kind of making fun, like Peyton could be miserable by hole 3. Just someone asked, like, who would you rather go to dinner with, Peyton or Tom?
Yeah.
My response was relatively quick and easy.
You said Peyton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, guy, if Howard Stern can't get Tom to be that interesting, then I'm not getting anything. At least I think Peyton could be a little more guy's guy, just someone random than Tom.
Well, if you watch have you watched any of the Peyton's places? I know we've talked about him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I would have more fun with Peyton.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Tom clearly can have the fun. I just don't know at this point in time in his life with his fame, has it like jumped the shark?
Peyton's more willing to give it. Right.
Do you think Tom would be fun to just go to dinner with?
I mean, if I'm sure he's fun for Jules to go to dinner with.
Yeah.
I just think Peyton would be more fun for more people, probably.
For someone random. I think it would be harder for Tom. Like, he ain't giving you sweet Belichick stories on the side, right? About how much he hates the motherfucker. Right. I'll promise you that. Yeah. Or Peyton might just like light into somebody, because I just think he probably doesn't. He's now removed. So my answer is pretty easy, Peyton.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we said we call this a rapid fire podcast. We'll see if it's rapid fire. We thought we'd dive into some things here. It was interesting. Joe Staley met with the media over Zoom, the Niners local media, I think, on Tuesday. We've talked a lot, John, about George Kittle, and I think one way to look at him is he just became a lot more valuable to the 49ers because everything that's been written, and I mean, you don't need to be a hardcore Niner analyst to understand this, that Staley leaves a leadership void, and the guys that are picking it up, to some degree, they already were. I mean, Sherman already was a leader. Kittle already was a leader. But George Kittle has become even more valuable to the 49ers, and that word is relevant just because he's not paid like one of the most valuable players in the NFL, and tight ends just don't get paid like the most valuable players in the NFL. But the fact is, he's one of the most valuable players on one of the best teams in the league. Now, whether or not that translates to money, I don't know, but it's hard to deny.
I think he became this last year, but I would say right now he's the face of the franchise. Like, if you're going to put a poster up, it's going to be 85 and George Kittle. If they want to do something promotional in terms of the make you smile, if 49ers want to tweet something out or they would go to George. If 49, I mean, I didn't know. Let me rephrase. We've talked to him before. If you've watched him, like I learned something last year that his dad every game writes him a handwritten note and he reads it before every game. It's just like there is an emotional side to George. And clearly he plays like that. But that thing that he tweeted out, or the Niners tweeted out to George Kittle, on Joe Staley, like his thoughts on Joe Staley, where he just can't talk because he's crying. Like, he kind of is. He's relatable to everybody, right? Someone mature, someone who's a football nerd that likes elite players, little kids that can relate, that he's fun, loving. He's got this wrestling crossover. Teammates fucking love him. He's just the entire league is like, yeah, that guy's a badass, right? He's kind of their universal guy, which for a long period of time was Joe Staley. Jim Harbaugh, I think, called him the best offensive lineman he's ever coached. Just everyone in this Northern California liked him. The entire league respected him. It's just rare. Like I think Jimmy's like a high level guy, can be a leader, but he is somewhat of a polarizing. Is he overpaid? How good is he? We can argue that. Like, there is no argument with Kittle, right? He's dominant. He's elite. If anything, he's underpaid, but he's the total package. Doesn't get in any trouble. And he's just answered the bell every time they need him, which to me was a Staley characteristic, right? Part of becoming a face of a franchise is about more than just, like, Kittle's a winner, clearly. He was the best player on a Super Bowl team. But it's like, are you just there no matter what? Even like times are shitty. Like, I watched George when the team sucked. He was great, right? Just his energy. Like, let's say what you want about, I'll use an example, like Eli Manning. We can nitpick if he's a Hall of Famer or whatever, but he was a face of the New York Giants for 15 plus years. In the worst of times, the best of times, like, he just answered the bell every day. And I think Kittle is that type player, just like Joe was. I'd say Joe was pretty consistently for the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the face of the franchise isn't always your best player, right? When it is, it's the whole package, like Steph Curry for the Warriors. Staley wasn't always the Niners' best player. He was always one of their best players.
Yeah.
But he wasn't always their best player. Like if you said every GM gets to take a player off the team, he wouldn't always have gone first, right?
And he wasn't. He's not like Orlando Pace or Anthony Munoz or something. But he was damn good.
But Kittle is.
Yeah,
like Kittle's the total package in that way.
Yeah. Like did Gronk ever become? He was a face of the Patriots, but it's hard with Tom.
It's hard. Right? I mean, but I think he was he was always one of the best players in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Most dynamic players in the NFL. He was one of the NFL's biggest stars, which is what made him unique. But that's where Kittle is similar. I mean, I think Kittle, maybe I'm crazy, we just live out here. I think Kittle's a bigger star than Travis Kelce is.
I would agree. I think he's passed him over the last 12 months.
That doesn't mean better player. I mean, we could debate that, but I think he's a more recognizable member of the NFL.
Well, I think he's become one of the league's poster boys, non-quarterback. I mean, the quarterbacks are always going to, Kyler Murray's more famous than fucking Kittle or whatever. I'm not comparing him to quarterbacks, but non-quarterbacks now, like you throw up OBJ. To me, like you throw up some of these, like Kittle's one of the immediate guys you throw up.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's making $2 million this year. 2.2. Or his cap hit's 2.2. He's actually under 2.2. He's making 3 times less than Marcus Mariota is.
It's actually like that sucks. And he's clearly outperformed it. But if you're just like a starter, like let's just say you're a guard or like a linebacker and you're just a starter that was a 5th round pick, I think and even I think this sometimes, like, oh yeah, guy makes $700,000. You actually, if you can last till like year 4, you actually start making some solid money, right?
Yeah, but you got to last till year 4 because
it's hard, a lot of turnover. But if you do, but I'm just saying, if you're just like, yeah, who's your 3rd corner? Oh, it's just this 4th round or 5th rounder from 4 years ago. He's been a rotational guy. The guy's not, he's in the top.
Well, it's bracket. Surprising that year 4 even pays that much, right?
Because
year 3 paid $645. So he'll be a free agent. Kelsey's got another year before his free agency.
No wonder these late round picks just desperately want to make it to the year 4.
Kelsey's making 9 this year and 8-7 next year. Are we headed towards a Travis Kelce holdout in 2021?
He's making a lot of cash.
I mean, relative to tight ends, what is George Kittle's contract going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really complicated. And this is where they're in a tough spot. Like, what if he did, once training camp starts, holds out? Because to me, that would be the way to get paid. But they kind of need him around. It's a complicated situation. And I on this side, I lean on the player. Like, he deserves to be overpaid in the sense of the highest tight end contract ever is Austin Hooper. Like, George Kittle has nothing in common with Austin Hooper. Beside, I'm sure, the contract offers.
Yeah, Hooper's making 11.5 this year. That's number 1. Hunter Henry 10.6, number 2. Gronk 10. That's number 3. Kelsey 9.2. Jimmy Graham 9. Tyler Higbee 8.
Jesus.
Darren Waller 7.5.
My God. Yeah, he's gonna need. It's gonna be one of the bigger topics around here for the next 12 months because to me there's a chance he just plays it out on this contract, which you'd argue at this point wouldn't it be a little risky? And this is where the Niners might have him by the balls. Hey, we'll give you $30 million guaranteed and 13 a year. How does he turn that down?
Become the highest paid tight end in the league.
But to me, there's a difference between the highest paid tight end in the league at $25 million guaranteed. It's like, bro, I'm not in these guys' realm to like, do you offer $35 million guaranteed? It's something we've talked about for a while.
Yeah.
Clearly the Niners have shown they don't really just, even when they love guys, they don't set crazy precedent for contracts.
And it's not like they can't really, it doesn't make they're not in a position financially, it doesn't make sense for them to be irresponsible, to go beyond, maybe irresponsible is not the word, but to go beyond out of the goodness of their heart. That's not how NFL contracts generally work, especially if you're a team that's good and you're just going to have and you're going to have expensive players.
Agreed.
So, but they got the guy who Ron Rivera said the Washington got offered a first rounder last year. Who told him that? Dan Snyder?
I bet, yeah, for sure. Well, the reality is, I think that Ron Rivera doesn't want to shit on Trent Williams, because he kind of said, well, he takes a year off and the value diminished a lot. Well, we know that the Minnesota Vikings, I think it's fair to say, we're offering their 2021 second round pick and a raise. And Trent Williams says, no, I'm not going there. So a little like an NBA player, he controlled the outcome of this. Because I think Ron doesn't want to look like we didn't just give a guy away, but he doesn't want to shit on the guy because he's a player. It's weird. Like, he's an intense coach, but he has a pro player environment. Cam thrived under there. I think it's a tough spot for him to kind of, I would imagine a lot of people in the DC area are shitting on the deal. Like, you gave this guy away for a third and a fifth, really a fifth this year and a third next year. And a third next year is worth way less a year from now than it is right now. And the Niners didn't have a third to give. But if Trent Williams is telling people, no, I'm not going there. Nope, not going there. You're not going to get anything from that team. It's not worth their headache.
I also think it's pretty easy for Ron. This had nothing to do with him, right? This is not. He didn't even coach the guy. He didn't really even lose the guy. He knew
he did. Remember when he got the job, he tried to
I know, but they had to know.
He did.
They had to know it was going to be difficult. But it just, to me, it more speaks to that. They're in a rebuild anyway. So it just speaks to what the value the 49ers got. A third and a fifth.
It's highway robbery, guy. It's. I hate to say lucky. Because is it lucky that Belichick called Kyle? No, because Kyle's good and Bell likes him. Is it lucky that Kyle was there when they drafted him? No, it just happened to be that was the guy that was in a bad spot with that franchise, and he likes Kyle. And they need a left tackle. They've had some moves that just kind of worked out perfectly for them.
Well,
right?
Much as we've learned with YouTube, John, you make a video that gets views, that helps the next video get views. You make your luck by being good. It's like, why are bad teams unlucky? Well, players don't want to go there. No one forces trades to those teams. That's why they're unlucky. That's part of the reason why they're unlucky. Sometimes they're bad too. But, they're lucky that Trent Williams wanted to play for them. Yeah, but why did he want to play for them? It'd be one thing if he wanted to play for them because his mom happens to live down the street from Levi Stadium, or because he just really wants to be in a warm weather climate and no warm weather teams, or he really wants to play on natural grass and he can't find natural grass. Are they lucky that they hired Kyle Shanahan? Well, you could argue they're lucky that they didn't hire Josh McDaniels. I don't know, or that they didn't hire Brian Gutekunst and then he got to hire Matt LaFleur. Yeah, you could argue that, but they have Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan drafted Trent Williams. Kyle Shanahan's team is really good. So, yeah, they're lucky, I guess, in that way. But
I don't think Gutekunst and Kyle would have worked. I think Kyle realized, and he has said this before, people that are listening might forget this. Not an arranged marriage, but Jed was desperate to create a marriage of two guys that didn't know each other, and he was forcing guys on
Louis
Zoom
Riddick.
calls. Yeah, it was weird. And Josh McDaniels turned down the 49ers. That was their number one target. That was the guy, on a draft board. We were going to take that guy, and then he just was off the board. That was their target. And once he turned them down, because ultimately there wasn't going to be a forced marriage on Josh. Josh was going to bring whoever he wanted as a GM.
Right.
Kyle, while he was the hottest offensive coordinator in the league at the time, by a mile, right? Matt Ryan just won the MVP. The fucking Falcons were just lighting everyone up. Did they go 15-1 that year? They had the lead in the Super Bowl. They were incredible.
I think they did go 15-1.
15-1 and 14-2, but I think 15-1 because it was back-to-back years. The Panthers and the Falcons went 15-1.
Yeah.
And they were trying to force either George Patton, but they go 15-1 or 14-2.
Which year?
The year they went to the Super Bowl.
They went 11-5.
With Matt Ryan won the MVP?
Yeah, they went 11-5.
Seriously?
Yeah.
In 2017?
The 2017 Super Bowl, the 2016 season. Yeah.
What were their records?
They went 13-3 in 2012. Maybe that's the year you're thinking of. With
Did they go 7-9 before they went 11-5?
Tevas. Huh? They went 8-8, 11-5, 10-6.
They have no 14 or 15 win seasons in the mid 2000s.
98, Dan Reeves, Dirty Bird. That's the year you're thinking of, John. The year they went to the Super Bowl. They went 14-2.
Yeah, Dirty Bird. Am I crazy? Did you think they won more games or not?
I would have said like 13-3, 14-2.
That's pretty nuts.
It is kind of nuts, right?
But yeah, now we're here, and Kyle Shanahan is not Gutekunst or Patton.
But you know what? To your point, it is the fact that Kyle was like clearly a head coaching candidate, but didn't have like a GM on deck, right, to come work with him. He just called John Lynch like, "Hey, man, I know we don't really know each other. Is that how right? Or did the Niners suggest John Lynch?"
But yeah, Kyle. Remember, Kyle had hit it off.
Well, they had the production meeting when Lynch was with Fox.
Well, Kyle talked to John, shot some ideas off him. Then John called him back like a day later because Kyle was like, I think, asking him some questions if you've met impressive people, and John was like, "What if I was your guy?" Remember? And it was all just. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And the Niners had a 3-year run where Tom Sula, they hired Chip Kelly.
That's kind of lucky.
That was lucky. But you could argue that was a little lucky for Kyle, too.
Yeah.
But there was just an element. I don't blame, like, guys under 40, that are just coordinators, position coaches, that are going to have, quote, unquote, a GM, right? That is a little political. Like,
what do you mean
you inside a building. Even if your dream is to be a head coach, like you just might not have if you've been to a couple teams. What if you just never met like the next John Schneider? Like, I don't know.
I don't blame him either. I'm just saying that it's just kind of crazy. He was such a hot name, and yet there really wasn't an obvious guy he wanted to work with.
Well, sometimes we have a history of it's not as organic as you think.
Yeah.
Like Pete Carroll got the job. He had never worked with John Schneider. And they've just become kind of the marriage that everyone looks for. And Andy, when he got the job in Kansas City, who'd he hire? A guy that he had worked with a long time ago in Dorsey, but then it blew up, and now he has his organic relationship in Veach, who was kind of like worked all the way up. But I would say most guys, now with Belichick and Andy, they're older coaches. So they've had a Caserio, a Pioli, a Veach. But if you're even Kyle, by the time Kyle's 50, maybe like Adam Peters, but how many guys would he have working for him the whole time that started at like 25 years old? Because that guy might get another job. It's just, there's just a lot of randomness to it. With the movement in the league, once you start winning, people immediately pluck your guys.
By the way, did you see the video I tweeted on Tuesday of Kyle Brandt on NFL Network? They were doing a discussion about whether or not there are similarities between Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it was Monday.
Was that when he used the word womanizer?
Yeah, but that wasn't the funny here. That wasn't the funny part. The funny part is what he says about Brett Veach. He's talking about
Michael Jordan, right, and Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, but he's also he's talking about Jordan and Mahomes and Jerry Krause.
Out teammates on camera for womanizing. He is not going to ride Brett Veach and make short jokes about him anytime the GM comes around the team.
That's Mike. That's not Pat. Could you hear that?
Yeah. My counter to Brandt would be, who is really funny. I really enjoy his work. He just always makes me laugh with a little clip. Michael was not, I think, a total asshole to like his superiors in the 80s. I think as you get just unlimited power, Michael knows I'm the most powerful motherfucker in this building. Hell, I'm more powerful than the owner because he ain't firing me. So, like, you just never, like, people thought Favre was salt of the earth. By the end, he was kind of shitting on everyone on his way out. You never know. Now, I'd say Mahomes would be in the category feels like the nice guy in the league, but $400 million later, 3 or 4 Super Bowls.
Andy Reid retires, and now he's playing for some guy that he thinks he's better than.
Yeah, like this is like I know more than Kafka.
This is very.
Now the one thing
Rodgers,
would be
actually now.
Wouldn't you say this? Here was my point on the Rodgers thing. Forever, Patrick Mahomes, Veach, and Andy get credit for that. When Andy won in Philly, he drafted Donovan. Forever, Belichick, whatever you want to say, was it Brady or Belichick? Bill drafted Brady. then named him the starter, and then built the team around him. So yeah, Brady became the superstar, but that's a check fucking mark for Bill, right? That's his guy. Where McGinn, Bob McGinn in Athletic was writing about the Rodgers, and you see Favre today, I guess, was on like Sirius, was like, yeah, I talked to Aaron, and I'm not going to go too far into it, but just, yeah, he was surprised. There is an element of, let's say they would have won the Super Bowl last year, beat the Niners, and then beat the Chiefs. Aaron Rodgers wins his second Super Bowl. Now he's in that Elway, Peyton Manning, MVP, multiple Super Bowls. Like, it's not just he's a Hall of Famer. It's now, or let's say he does it this year. Whatever. He ends his career with the Packers with another Super Bowl. He would just, it'd be hard to keep him out of that top 5 ever. Like, he's better than Brett. But Gutekunst and LaFleur, like, you're not really getting credit for that guy. Because part of the reason, even back to Manning, where I think Elway got a lot of cachet, right, was like, well, Elway landed Manning. And that was a big deal. It was like, he kind of did his Pat Riley. It wasn't his, everyone knew Peyton was Peyton fucking Manning, but still, like, Elway kind of gave him the sales call. It's where the Warriors get some credit on Kevin Durant, was like, yeah, Bob Myers, Lacob, Jerry West, like, they closed that deal. Like, these guys were just hired into, Rodgers was just there, right? I mean, so as a bit, like, if you just look at it from a business perspective, and I'm not saying like they're trying to create some legacy, but as a GM or as a coach, you want to win with your guys, or as a GM, you want your players that you pick to be sweet. That's the whole point of the fucking sport.
Yeah, I mean,
and I just wonder if they look at it like we're never, and if you think the guy's diminishing, you go, whether it's good or bad, we're not going to get credit for this guy.
Yeah, also if he's actively working against whatever, he doesn't want to do what you want to do in terms of offense, and he's actively working against you, he's getting in your way, it's hard to say, look, man, you're not the MVP of the league right now. If you were, then we'd tailor everything around you. But you're not. We got to tailor it around what we want to do, and you got to buy in a little bit here. I think no matter what happened between Brady and Belichick, one thing that to his core, Brady always will know is that Bill, like you said, Bill picked him. Bill gave him the job. Bill helped develop him. Bill helped make him great to whatever degree he helped. That's for Tom to say. But, like, that is what Aaron does not have with this group of guys.
Well, to me, like you said, not just the pick, and we're so far removed from it, but Tom Brady, when he just has to think and just take a deep breath, and again, we're 20 years removed from this, it was pretty crazy when Belichick not just named him the starter, but remember he got hurt, Bledsoe came in, and then he started the Super Bowl. Like, this guy believed in you, Tom, when you were a 6th-round pick. And your stardom, like, this guy started the flower that eventually germinated to this huge tree. But Rodgers, and I don't blame him, how will he ever look at Matt LaFleur like his equal? Or like, am I really listening to this?
Right.
Because LaFleur's scheme, and we've heard, remember Matt Ryan talked about it, it gets uncomfortable for someone that when you're not used to what they're asking you to do it, right? You turn your back on the defense, the play action stuff.
Just more running the ball in general.
Yeah, just taking the ball out of your hand. And you said this all the time, and I just added his last 2 seasons because I think we think, like, yeah, Rodgers, he's slipping. And then you just write down, yeah, he's 51 touchdowns, 6 picks the last 2 years.
Right.
But the stats do not, again, still a really good player. I would say still a top 5 quarterback in the league. But at one point in time, for a 7-8 year stretch, he was like the LeBron James, where it was like, listen, they might not win the Super Bowl, they may get bounced in the second round, but he's the most talented quarterback playing right now. And I'd say most people agreed with everybody with that, right?
Yes. But I also think now this is the second coach in a row that Aaron has a problem with, right? McGinn wrote, Aaron's difficult to coach. He wrote that LaFleur's had enough of his act. And he wrote that he's going to be even more difficult to coach this year. Like, this, if they're not going to give any, and clearly they're not, because they think they're going to outlast him there. And I say they, I mean LaFleur and Gutekunst. And he's not going to give any because he's become one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time without these guys, doing it his way. This is going to make it worse. It's going to get weird because there's nowhere for him to go right now based on his salary. And you're not about to move on from Aaron Rodgers just immediately. Like if I told you right now, Bill Belichick put a draft pick on the table for the Packers, said I'll take his $50 million this year.
Like, I'll give you my next year's one for him.
Yeah, like what number would it have to be? Would they do it for a 1? Would they do it for the 30th pick in the 2021 draft right now? Would they do for a second round?
I would say they would not do it right now. Depending on how this season goes and how he acts, you'd have to think about it next year, right?
They couldn't do it right now, right? Unless they believe Jordan Love, like it's career suicide if you trade Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love isn't your starter.
If Jordan Love turns into like a more athletic Hackenberg, those guys will never work in the league, right?
But it feels like they're hoping it happens. Like, you know, I always
would Belichick want him?
Well, but would he want to go play for Bill? He wants to go somewhere. But Bill would, you would think, go, Aaron, here's what I think you do well. We're doing what you do well. But, you know, I always love to quote Cedric the Entertainer's famous line. I wish a motherfucker would be in my seat, right? Like LaFleur it's in some way, it's like the Packers want Aaron. It's like they're daring Aaron. And Aaron's daring them. And it just, how is this going to last? How is this going to last 2 more years? Because like we talk about his contract, are they going to end up trading Aaron Rodgers in 2021 because his salary's so huge for like a 3rd round pick?
Depends how this season looks. If he still looks good, I think someone would give a first just for a short term. Like, wouldn't the Steelers give a 1 for a short term just to try to win? Someone forwarded me an article on Instagram, like in my DMs, and it was an article from 2019. The Packers had missed the playoffs back-to-back years. They had gone 8-8, and then last year, or going into the LaFleur year, right? That was the year McCarthy got fired, and they were under 500. They made a profit, and I think sometimes we forget this because all these teams have owners. They made a profit of $750,000 in the 2018 season. Back-to-back years missing the playoffs. Their season tickets, like one thing they're big on is they keep it a little bit percentage below the league average. It's a unique franchise because they don't have an owner like they do. Now, they generate a lot because they're one of the more popular brands in the league. Rodgers been a huge star. But one part of this article was like they didn't win and they gave Rodgers this historic amount of money. It impacts them more than it would like Jed or Jerry or Paul or whoever, just a franchise that's making money in all these other places. And it was like, damn. And then I started thinking, well, this year, to me, I would imagine it shot right back up, right? They went 13-3. They were in the NFC Championship game, even though it was, I wouldn't say controversial year, but it was a weird 13-3 year, but they were still winning, and they won a home playoff game, so they made some money. But they are probably the team that is dependent the most if they're going to give out huge money. And it wasn't just, and one of the things Gutekunst was saying is like, yeah, we're going to be more aggressive in free agency. For them to like push the envelope, you have to win there to financially just maintain it because their expenses are really high and they don't have any extra income. They don't have a guy that's like, I'll carry this $35 million whatever payment. It is you could argue it's the most unique franchise of all the 3 major sports of any, just because of the way they are set up as an entity.
Yeah.
So they got no issue. Like, you're going to pay Rodgers. God, this entire decade, they won every fucking year. And most years they're winning playoff games. Lambeau hosting playoff. They were making good money, but then you get to a position like they can't really afford to have, and this gets to Gutekunst and LaFleur. Like, if this transition goes bad and they miss on this player, it could get really ugly for the franchise for a couple of years. Like, there's going to be a lot of pressure, and this is why, looking back, again, economically it was a lot different, but it's still all relative. It kind of meant like the heat Ted was getting, like Rodgers, Favre, huge star, different perceived, but still massive star. It was like, you better fucking be right. Because still, even when Favre was diminishing, he was still a needle mover for him, right? People went to see Favre. I think Rodgers is still that. If this Love guy is a failure for him, it would be pretty devastating to those guys' careers.
Yeah, but I mean, as it turned out.
Not the wrong move, though. I understand the logic. I'm saying the player now, it's going to be incumbent on them for that guy to be solid.
As it turned out with Favre, they could have kept Favre for 3 more years if Aaron Rodgers had turned out not to be the quarterback of the future for them, right? Like, this feels like it's like this. If we get 3 years from now and Aaron Rodgers let's just say Aaron Rodgers wants to play till he's 42. If 3 years from now, 2 years from now, Jordan Love doesn't look like he's going to be the guy.
And they're winning.
and they're winning, like, are they winning despite the head coach because Aaron's just balling? And does Aaron have more power to get them a different coach? Like, it's just the dynamic.
No. I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so either. But what are they going to do? Because if Aaron
you're
hates
saying
it,
if he has like a Brady next 37 to 42 year run,
does he want to go play somewhere else just because he hates playing for those guys?
I think he would want out. I think
so.
He would want it.
That to me is where it could get really bad for them, right?
But I would say the one thing for him, and he clearly knows this, while it's a quote unquote tiny little market team, it is the one team where it's like you're the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I don't know if he would want out. I just know if is he gonna just? I just don't know how you maintain if it's this level of animosity and they're still winning.
How many teams, if Rodgers would have become Rodgers exactly like he did, won the exact amount, MVPs, the Super Bowl, would you say less than 5 him become the equivalent star that he's become? Like, as part of his stardom, the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Part of his stardom is that before he played a snap, really, he was just a major NFL story because of the Favre stuff. Like if he had been, like, did it help Steve Young's Q rating that he was always in a battle with Joe Montana? No, as it turned out,
I think that adds some juice to you.
But it wasn't. It was the San Francisco 49ers were the team of the 80s.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm giving you some.
I'm saying, like, what if that had happened? Who's a guy
Houston Texans.
At the chart, like, would Phillip Rivers could be a lot bigger, right? If he hadn't been the Chargers quarterback.
Yeah, to me, Rodgers isn't anywhere near the star he is if he's the Chargers quarterback or the Rams quarterback or the Texans or the Cardinals. Like, the Packers are just, for the last 30 plus years, they have been one of the premium brands in the league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just turn on
because of the quarterback.
Turn on your Fox game of the week and turn on your CBS game of the week.
Yeah.
Now, Troy won, but, I mean, the Cowboys quarterbacks.
Cowboys helps.
If Troy delivered Buffalo its first Super Bowl, would he be the number one?
I think if this year he has another regression year, and I heard Cosell say this, I got tweeted on my timeline, and he's right. Rodgers is not a timing and rhythm quarterback, and he never really has been. But in his heyday, he was so good off platform, off script, because his physical talent was elite that he could make up for everything. He's never been, like, part of Brady and Breeze still going strong. They are the most fundamentally sound individuals. I think you notice that in the Jordan documentary. They're always like, God, his fundamentals were like his feet, his fucking dribbling, just his stances. Like, it was just like, God, this guy's putting on a clinic. Rodgers is not a clinic, right? Like Tony Gwynn was a clinic.
But he's what when every kid says, I'm just a gunslinger, man. Like, that's what they want.
But, Guy, my point is, as you age, if you're not super fundamentally sound, it can go fast, right? Because he's not like feet perfect in the pocket, throwing this out.
If you lose your arm strength. If he's
already started to lose it, I think, the last
Well, that's what
years.
everyone says. That's what everybody who's watching the tape and not just looking at the stats says, right? And I'm sure that's what Matt LaFleur's saying.
Remember, Lincecum was striking out a lot of guys when he was throwing 98. Once he started throwing like 92, fucking balls were getting smashed into the fence.
Yeah, but the numbers reflected that. Like, Rodgers is going.
Well, this is where I think what's unique about
Rodgers saying, "Help me! I don't want LaFleur's help. I want an elite receiver's help."
I know. Well, I think they think you're not good enough. Even if we get you that guy now, we need to run it and run it and run it.
Yeah.
And look at Kyle. Like, we go, well, Devontae's better than anyone the Niners have. So if we can, Valdez Scantling or one of these other cats can just become a solid role player, we'll lead the league in rushing. It won't be on you. And when you are throwing Aaron, guys will be wide open. And that's where I think Aaron, what at least will be interesting is, like, does that take some of the shine away? And I'd say, Aaron, if you win, like last year, we're nitpicking you, but when the dust settles, like, you just led another team to the NFC Championship. Like, you get credit for that.
This is where maybe part of the oddness of the Packers hurts them, that there's no central figure who's been with Aaron the whole time, who Aaron respects and who has Aaron's back.
There's no Robert Kraft or Jerry Jones in the situation.
But there's not one of those guys for most teams. But yeah, there's not that guy. Like that hurts. Like maybe one day we'll find out all the stuff Robert Kraft did behind the scenes over the years with Bill and Tom to make it run as long as it ran, right? Where like Bill ultimately had a boss and Tom ultimately knew Robert loved him. And so they did have somebody that could be the intermediary. Who does Aaron – now maybe it's Aaron's making that it's like this, that he's on an island. But I don't – how does this situation get solved without him on another team? That's the weird part. And if it's starting now –
well, Guy –
actually, it didn't start now. It started a year ago.
Yeah, to me, after Tom Brady ends up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I will be absolutely floored if Aaron Rodgers' career doesn't end on another team.
I'm with you, but I'm beginning to wonder if it's going to.
Does he retire? That would be the only thing.
But I'm just beginning to wonder, John, if it's going to happen sooner than even everyone. It's easy to look at the contract. It's 2 years away at least. It's like, is it?
But it does like his contract.
It's crazy. But so is this going to be just this shitty situation for 2 years? Like just weird? I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but
they are clearly one of the most fascinating stories in the league right now. Like this is going into training camp. There's going to be a lot of like, NFL Network does their little daily training camp stuff, like live from Packer practice. Getting a little weird out here. Jim, Andrew, let me tell you, Rodgers just gave Love a weird look. Rodgers just did not give him a high five. Like this is part of. I like the Montana Young thing is the craziest fucking thing that's probably ever happened in the league. It's not even possible for it to happen now. You watch the Jordan documentary, like it's not even possible to happen now. This is kind of happening like it used to happen, and it's going to get really, really weird because of how tightly everything's covered, how famous and polarizing Rodgers is to just begin with. Like it interests everybody. Like, damn, did you see that visual of like Rodgers throwing water on Love, like trying to be nice, but it looks like like everything is just going to be over amplified of our takes, just because I do think it's got a chance to be like, you're going to have a take because it's going to look really weird.
Yeah.
God, there were a couple of motions. Remember last year we're coming off the sideline after like touchdowns. And I was like, God, they're winning. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just wasn't there a lip reading with LaFleur about like, what is he doing or something like that?
Do you think it hurts LaFleur that he's just really unaccomplished?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's never really been a coordinator. He was the coordinator the 1 year, but the Titans offense was bad. Then even this year, I think Rodgers would be like, we weren't even very good on offense.
Absolutely, it hurts him. Absolutely.
And LaFleur's like, I'm the head coach. 13 wins. It's like, well, yeah, we won because of fucking defense and some runs. It's like, well, I'm scheming the run. It's like, yeah.
John, here is I just on YouTube. I just put up the quarterbacks. I'll read people some of this list. I just went through the Jameis Winston signed his contract with New Orleans officially, and as he said, there's a proverb: humility comes before honor. So I have to humble myself. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be with Drew Brees. So he signs a $1.1 million contract. AJ McCarron, for reference, makes $4 million this year. Deshaun Kaiser makes more than Jameis. Blaine Gabbert makes more than Jameis. Actually, there are 2 Bucs. All 3 Bucs quarterbacks make more than Jameis. Ryan Griffin, Blaine Gabbert. Matt Barkley makes 1.8. Chad Henne. Wasn't Chad Henne a scout last year at this time?
Yeah, scouted and then pulled out of retirement.
Nate Sudfeld. Matt Schaub.
Can I read you what Jameis said today to the Saints media? He said about the LASIK surgery. He can now read license plates and street signs that he couldn't read as well before.
Oh.
Helps with blurriness, depth perception, and clearer vision. Now, he did throw, is the vision the reason he's throwing picks? He threw picks in college. He's a reckless thrower to the football sometimes. But you can't convince me that this is not a potential diamond for Sean Payton. Because for him to sign this deal, now you can argue, I saw some people saying on like Twitter, it's clear what the league thought of him. I think if you ask most GMs, they go, yeah, Jameis is better than all those guys. But I don't have the money to sign him as my backup. Just a lot of teams, kind of just a point in time in NFL history where most teams have quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, you can't sign him if you're the Jags because you're giving Minshew a shot. Minshew might not be good enough to beat out Jameis. You can't sign him if you're the Giants. You can't sign him if you're the Chargers. You can't sign. I mean, there's
The Rams, the Niners ain't going to sign him. Seattle ain't going to sign him. The Eagles ain't going to sign him. Like he doesn't really have many homes. So I give him credit for. You could have just kept holding out, right? Would
wait for somebody to get hurt.
Would Cam Newton have signed this deal?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I would lean no.
But it's also unique, right? How many there's not another deal to sign like this, right? Where you go, I am $1.1 million is worth more to me when Sean Payton is the one giving it to me.
Yeah.
And this is like,
well,
this is basically I've been hired by a guy who tells me he's retiring in a year, and he's training me to take his job.
Well, when Roseman used the word, we want to be a quarterback factory of justifying Jalen Hurts, I think Sean Payton goes, we are a quarterback factory. Did you see what I just did for Teddy Bridgewater? One, I resurrected his career. We paid him a lot to be the backup once he proved he was the backup. He then won with us and asked Google what Teddy Bridgewater just got paid for the Carolina Panthers.
Hey,
and he'd go, $60 million.
What did Teddy Bridgewater just get paid? See if she can figure it out. No. It says, what is Teddy Bridgewater chippy?
Yeah, so if Jameis is a much more talented player than Teddy Bridgewater, how does he not end up twofold? Either looking, if this goes well, I'm going glass half full here. If this goes well, he's going to, maybe play in preseason games. But I would say at any moment when you're the backup quarterback for a 40-year-old quarterback, I know it was a freak deal, but Drew Brees could get hurt. And you're playing, and then you're looking good. But there would be pressure then on Jameis. Like, if Jameis did come in like Teddy and was shitty, it would go the other way. Like, it's a risk, But you'd argue at this point in time, whatever he's doing is pretty risky. Like, he's trending the wrong way, so you might as well take, tie yourself to someone who you think can trend you back the right way.
Do something. It is atypical for somebody who just threw 30 touchdowns and 30-plus touchdowns. No, 30, right? 30 and 33 interceptions.
33 touchdowns, 30 picks.
So better than a 1-to-1 ratio. No one talks about that.
I know.
Yes, it is atypical for the guy that just led the league in passing yards. This is very baseball. Like when when Mike Moustakas hit a bunch of home runs and then had to sign for like $1.5 million or whatever he signed, $3 million with the Brewers. It's
but what would be the equivalent though? Picks as a quarterback are probably the worst thing you can do. So whatever you can do as a hitter would be the worst thing as you can do. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, not hit home runs, but he also hits home runs. That's the crazy part. But what I was going to say is it's atypical for the guy that just had 5,000 yards and led the league in passing to sign for $1 million. Well. So if you're in an atypical situation, then embrace the fact that you're in an atypical situation. Don't do what everyone else does, which is go try and beat out some guy because some team has a shitty quarterback situation and they're bad. Do this. I give him credit, man, and I'm with you. I'm excited for it because it's Sean. Like I wanted him in New England or I wanted him in New Orleans or like this is what I wanted for Jameis because Jameis being a starter is fun.
I'm with you. And I think when you look at Jameis's career, he went from being a lot of people had issues with him from the character stuff, and rightfully so. I mean, he screamed, slap her in the pussy or something in the quad. He got suspended for doing maybe for that, and then he came out early. And then by the time early in his career, it was assaulting an Uber driver. It was like Jameis was doing the dumbest things you could possibly do. And then he got to the point where
we don't count the crabs though. That was a unique. They were just giving him crabs.
Yeah, he got the crab legs. But that was while it was funny. And remember the famous video of like when Jameis went to Harbaugh to do some like rehab, and Harbaugh was like the crab legs.
And Jed Fish was there, and he's like, yeah, crab legs. Looking at Jed Fish is like, yeah. Crab.
And now it feels like, you know what? Jameis kind of got his life together. And people are singing his praises. Like, he works really hard. No one has any questions. He's lazy. None of these words come up. It's just, you can't really win with him, right? It's like he is the detriment to your winning just because he's going to throw. His picks last year, and I'm a Jameis on the field defender in the sense of I'm still interested with his talent. It did jump the shark last year. Like, it was a running joke. You just watched his games, just pick six, end games with pick sixes, just another pick. It was crazy. We might not see that for a while because, wouldn't you say, for the most part, the guys making huge money would never, like Rodgers, even if it fell off a cliff, ain't throwing 30 picks. And then a guy who's not making that type of money would just get benched. Like, I just don't know if we're seeing 30 picks for a while, guy.
I'm pretty excited about the possibility of watching Sean Payton go from, like, the greatest pupil ever, or, like, on the list of, like, yeah, just tell Drew what to do, no problem.
Yeah.
He just does it. To, like, all the Michael Thomas shots. Like, what is going on?
Remember, who was it? Was it Marquise Lee? What? I don't think Jarks was there yet. Oh, it was Allen Robinson when he was on the Jaguars. There was the training camp footage of Bortles trying to throw like go routes to Robinson, and it would hit like the media member, and he would be like, "What are we doing?" And it was like, this is the type of stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't his quote. It was like, keep that shit in bounds, bro, or something like that.
Yeah. These are the things, like back to Rodgers with Jameis. It's just these stories just kind of go viral because we just care more about the quarterbacks.
I know we said this would be a rapid fire pod. It's obviously not. I did have somebody tell me there was some news that baseball wants to come back by July 4th. I forgot to tell you this. Somebody told me a couple weeks ago, like, God, they would love to come back on July 4th. Maybe mid-June, 80-game season, which I'm all for that. I think it would be baseball would be a little they'd be a little disappointed by how much people love 80-game seasons.
I think so too. Did you read any of the Nightingale article where they talk? They're hoping even by maybe like August to get some games back in the stadiums,
as opposed to doing like
home
just
ballparks.
the Texas, Arizona, Florida thing.
Like, do you think if you think they're going to play an 80-game season, or just I mean, we all kind of think that it's coming. I don't know if they're going to play in the bubble. I think they would just play in home ballparks.
I think maybe they would start in the bubble
and then just go to home ballparks empty
at some point. Yeah.
Did you see Rovell threw up? I guess the Japanese league has been doing this. Cardboard signs of humans and just put them in like the lower bowl. I actually don't think it would look that bad. I think
Pipe
it'd be
in
kind
some
of fun.
crowd noise.
Yeah, just be one of those things that, you know what, it's hit me a little bit, guy, over watching, ending up on some just old games and just you just reading stories of how leagues have been stopped before for lockouts and world wars and I'm guilty as charged of this. Like, this is the craziest fucking thing ever. It's like, crazy things, and we've talked about this before. Like, I ended up on Golf Channel the other night, or last night, and it was John Vandervelde. He has like a 3-shot lead going into 18. He ends up in the water. He takes an unplayable. He's taking his shoes off. Somehow makes a putt.
His pants are rolled up to his knees.
It was insane watching it live. I mean, I think Curtis Strange is like, this is the most ludicrous thing I can honestly say I've ever seen in my golf career. I mean, it was wild. And it's just like, these times are weird. It's going to look weird whenever these teams come back, whether they play in a bubble, whether the NBA teams play in, practice facility, however they do it. But, we'll look back in 20 years and think things are crazier, and we'll go, God, that was crazy. Like, it just is what it is, at this point in time. And I see the first reaction, definitely on social media a lot, is always like, this is a terrible idea. Well, are there just no good ideas? Should they just wave the white flag to everything? Should we just all wave the white flag and just say, fuck it? So I give them credit for just trying to do some things.
Yeah, I mean, if they can do it the way, I agree with all of that. I'm always annoyed by how everything is the worst, the greatest. The first time I've ever seen, nothing like this has ever happened before. It's like, maybe this specific thing hasn't happened before, but all this shit has happened.
But I also think you realize too, watching some of these old games, puts in perspective why sports are so big. Just because the craziest shit, beside like in our world, like with wars or pandemics or politicians or whatever, like television shows and movies like that is scripted. Like this shit, I ended up. Did you watch any of the Yankees Red Sox Game 7 2003? It was on ESPN last night.
I mean, I watched it then.
I did too. Well, that was the game that Aaron Boone hits the walk-off home run in the 11th.
Yeah.
Well, when I flip on the game, it's in the 5th inning. The Red Sox are up 4-0 with Pedro on the mound. And I'm thinking, they've gone this whole way with Babe Ruth. They've never won. If I was a Red Sox fan sitting on my couch, I'd be like, oh we're going to go to the World Series. And then you realize that,
and then Grady Little leaves them in too long.
And then I go back, and then they're tied, and they're in the 10th and the 11th, and Aaron Boone comes up, first pitch, bomb. And you just, crazy. That's a great part about sports is crazy shit happens. You just got to, if you just play the games, good, fun shit will happen, And it's all,
or terrible stuff, but
terrible stuff, but it'll be interesting, and people have opinion. But you need the games. Without the games, it's, we can talk, luckily, the draft, there's crazy stuff in this and free agency and movement, but the games is what makes the needle move. And that's why
but it's also,
and the money.
It's the humans that play the games that make the needle move, right? It's a whole other conversation, but that leads into the argument about taking human elements out of games. And I'm not even talking, that's not an umpire thing at all. That's not an officiating thing. That phrase is usually said with officiating, but the mistakes that get made in coaching, the mistakes that get made in player evaluation, the mistakes that get made during games also lead to the successes for the other side and the unexpected things, right? So when every team in free agency has the same analytics on a player, that's better for that team. I don't know if that's better for a sport, right? It's better for teams when nobody misses on $100 million contracts. I don't know if it's better for the sport, though, when everybody's thinking the exact same way. But that doesn't matter. That's not a live sporting issue. But when every manager is managing by the analytical book, instead of guys going by their gut and doing insane stuff, crazy, stupid stuff, just because this is what I think the sports are better with that, with people making mistakes, because it leads to the unexpected.
Let's say baseball has an 80-game season. The thing Nightingale wrote was they do 3 10-team divisions, just try to rotate. You just got to think outside the box. In basketball, let's just say hypothetically they don't play the regular season, they just start playing the playoffs. Is it asterisk? I can't never say that. Asterisk on those champions and the playoffs?
I don't think so. We didn't put
just
one
kind
on
of
the
forget
Spurs.
as time goes on.
Yeah, I don't think so. We didn't put one on the Spurs when they won the lockout season. The NBA season got played by and large. So I don't think so. No. Because 80 is still a healthy number. 80's half a year, but it's 80 games. Now, if you're playing 60 games, and even 80 is kind of tight, because when we're talking about
the 80s usually start slow and they heat up. They like the second 80,
But no, I don't think there's an asterisk on it. I do think, much like the NFL, I think the NFL draft's a good example. Something will happen over the course of an 80-game baseball season, or something will happen over abbreviated NBA playoffs, whatever, that we go, oh my God, we got to find a way to work that in.
Well, is there a chance, if I told you baseball plays 80 games, what would you guess their worst record is? Is there a 12 and
oh yeah.
Because there's probably not a 70.
Probably not a 12, no. But I would think
a 20 and 60 type team.
Yeah, the worst team's going to win 22 games.
It's going to be harder to win a lot, right? Just because there is a randomness to the sport. You could go 60 and 20 is probably as good as you can do.
Are we playing more double headers or team? Is there somebody with a bad bullpen? It's just.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want double headers. I don't think that's good, but I don't think we can wear these guys out.
Would basketball be better if they did everything was a 5-game series and there was just urgency to it?
It'd be. But that would be one where. Is there some weird upset?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There used to be. Do you remember Dikembe Mutombo?
Yeah, but that was on the ground, laying on his back at the free throw line. But those were the exceptions still, right?
I sometimes was Dikembe any good, or was he just kind of a defensive guy that blocked some balls and people liked him and he had a cool name?
I think he was good.
I think he was good too.
Anything else?
That's about all I got today.
We said rapid. We could talk about golf carts. Would you if I told you golf courses are open for the next year? This is not what's going to happen, but just how much does a golf cart mean to you? It means a lot to me, because I walked a golf course the other day. Because it's Presidio's public, it's just open. It's a park, right? People just walking. I just walked the course, and by 14 or 15, I was kind of tired. Now it's kind of hilly, but I wasn't golfing. And I just remember thinking, because there have been times Middlekauff where I've thought, next to my play, I'm just going to walk it. I feel good when I walk a course. But you realize you're carrying a bag, you're hitting, it's 4 hours. It's not for me, man. It's hard. I need like a caddy or a really light bag, flat course.
It just has to depend where I'm playing. I mean, if I got the opportunity to play a nice course, I have no problem walking. Am I going to go out of my way to play like a shitty public course and walk? Probably not. And if you haven't been playing a lot of golf, it's walking becomes difficult because you're fucking spraying the ball over the place. You're going to lose balls. You do a lot of like, yeah, fuck it, I'm not going into the trees for that bad boy. It just becomes kind of a pain. Now, if you're playing a lot and in a groove, and you're in decent shape, it's not that bad. But I think if you're just most people right now, besides like the pros and like Curry, there's a TrackMan in his house, haven't touched a club in a while. So you're just like going to go out, just, no practice really, and then just try to walk 18 holes. It could be a challenge. Yeah. And there are got to be courses in certain, like in the Bay Area, is a hilly place. Like,
yeah. They
like,
got to spread out these tee times or tell people like, you lose your ball, you lost your ball. Just drop.
Yeah, it could get edgy out there, but it could also be a community event. People are just so happy to like see other humans.
That's true.
That's why I do like going on a walk. You're like, God, other humans alive. And you get a lot of like, I always feel good on a walk when you just get a lot of, hey, how you doing? Even like a guy with a mask gives you a little head nod. You're like, oh, my community,
There's also some of this. I've had a few of these on a walk. Like,
I've had
walking around.
You get a bunch of like guy,
Do you find that you judge other people? Like there are people I'll just walk by, and there are some people where I'm like, that person doesn't look like they wash their hands, and I do I'll go into the street. I'll judge on a walk.
Yeah.
Can I trust this person not to cough on me as I walk by?
Well, you wearing a mask on a walk?
No.
How do people wear masks on a walk? How do you breathe? Sometimes I went into the store the other day. I was like, I looked to see if no one was around, and I took a normal breath. I was like, God damn, how do you do this? Well, and I'm just going, like bandana style cowboys. How did the Cowboys back in like the summer with all those clothes and the bandana? Think how hot it must have been.
I know, but you keep in I guess the dust is just so overwhelming.
That's true.
The first time,
you wear a mask or bandana?
I have a mask that I wear like in a store. The first time I went into a store where I started wearing masks, I had glasses on, and immediately total fog. I could barely see. I was like Jameis walking around the store. My vision was subpar at best because I was fogged up the whole time.
It's like skiing when you wear the goggles and you wear a mask. All the fog goes up there and you can't see anything. Yeah, you're just trying to get some chicken. You don't know where it is. You might grab
crab legs.
Pork. Yeah, crab legs.
All right. On that note, if you're listening, go to the YouTube channel. If you're watching, subscribe to the podcast.
Stay safe.
And we'll have more videos coming.
Yep.
Adios.
Peace.
Pelota.